Welcome to Business Leader Breakthroughs, where we help unlock the potential in you, your teams, and your business. I'm your host, Ryan Castle, along with Dr. Mike Ashby. We'll share insights, experiences, and stories on achieving breakthrough success in business and life. In addition to a podcast, The Breakthrough is a coaching and advisory business that provides programs for business leaders, owners, and managers to develop your skills and capabilities to boost your business and enjoy a better life. To learn more, click the link in the episode show notes or go to thebreakthrough.co. Now let the breakthroughs begin. Howdy team, welcome along to this episode of Business Leaders Breakthrough. Fortunate to have my partner in crime, Dr. Mike, along for the ride again.
Great to be here. I'm really well.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
Where have you been?
I've been in Hawaii.
Nice.
And that's why I'm so coloured.
So coloured,
So tanned.
yeah. He's moved from white to off-white, which is about as coloured as it gets.
Blue to white.
Yeah, I think my winter tan might still be darker.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but let's not make this a beauty contest because that could end badly for everyone.
Yeah,
I think. Give us one Hawaii highlight.
32 degrees every day. Does that?
That pretty much sums it up.
Actually, the beach at Waikiki, even though it's kind of a cliche and crowded, just an amazing place. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yep. Great people watching. And that is 32 degrees Celsius, just in case any of you are confused that work in Fahrenheit. Really warm and toasty, I think, is about the equivalent. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Nice. Look, we're all about delivering on promises here at The Breakthrough, and we did promise in a previous podcast episode to talk about the competitive tripod, a framework that's been around for a long time, but it's really around getting clear on what you're going to be great at in your organisation.
Yep.
And the really quite a simple framework, 3 areas that you can be focused on, or one of the 3, and that is being great at product, being great at lowest price, or being great at customer experience.
Pretty much, yeah. And there's variations around that, like sometimes the lowest price gets called operational excellence, and the other one's customer experience or customer service. Product is always just and actually product these days is about product and service bundled.
Yes.
So, but they still stand pretty well the test of time. And the proposition is simple. You need to meet the market on 2 of those and beat the market on 1. So that thing that you're going to be better than anyone else in the market at, and being really clear about what that looks like. And it's the really useful part that we found was we've used it with clients over the years is to say, okay, not only in your marketing and your kind of business model, but also your capability as an organization. Because from that point of difference, that point of competitive focus, flows the capability that you need to execute on it. So, for example, if you take operational excellence or lowest price, and we use an example like the warehouse, because they continue to do very well in that space, their core competency is around supply chain management. So customer service, can't even spell it. Lovely story, an observation I made when I was taking back some toys years ago, Boxing Day, fairly long queue. Faulty product. They just did the refund straight away. And it occurred to me, it is probably cheaper for them to give you a refund straight away and without discussion than it is to train somebody to have a discussion about how the thing actually works. And that's the calculation they make all the time. A few years ago, their share price tanked because their supply chain management technology, their system, they put a new system in and it failed. So that is all about the process, all about the system, all about efficiency, all about productivity.
And I think the point you make around operational excellence that allows you to achieve lowest price in market is really important, because anyone can slash their prices tomorrow and be lowest price, but you can never sustain it. The only thing that allows you to sustain a lowest price position in market is that operational excellence, which continues to drive margins through that excellence.
Totally. And if where everyone gets a bargain in other organisations that are constantly having sales, it's not because they're losing money or discounting it. It is because their supply chain is so good that they are able to do that in a sustainable way.
Yeah. So what's a good product example?
Apple is the standout, has been for years. I'm sorry, mate. This is going to be hard for Ryan. Ryan's just going to leave the room while we talk about what he calls craffle. But their track record probably throughout, but particularly the second era of Steve Jobs, when he canned a whole lot of product and focused in, their track record on the iPhone in particular, seriously, sitting in airports, people are they're just all there looking at their iPhone, looking at their phones, right? Smartphone, we'll just call it a smartphone. It started with Apple. But the really interesting thing, so a really strong capability around innovation. Innovation is just in their DNA. And it's at all aspects. One of the stories about Jobs was that he took the final step of unpacking, because he knew that people who unpack an iPhone or an iPad or whatever, that was going to be part of the experience. That was part of the product design. Mm-hmm. And it's still a real pleasure to kind of open the box on a new device. You haven't experienced this.
No, I have.
You're an Apple virgin, aren't you?
I personally am, but my family are, Apple natives, despite my protests.
Yeah.
And look, absolutely acknowledge beautiful packaging design, and that is the very first step in an Apple experience, is when you get that box, and they go to phenomenal amounts of effort to actually get consumers in and watch how they unbox something, how they take it out, so that the experience is just seamless. And they are doing that because product is the thing that they want to be famous for, and it's what they're great at.
And they took a different approach from Samsung and the like, and Windows for that matter too. Their design piece in the software was also all about how intuitive they could make it, so that the user experience. So they sort of, in a way, you could argue they go into that customer experience piece, but they kind of don't, because their support's totally shit.
Yeah. Yes.
Are we allowed to say that? So the Apple...
So when we're saying which area do you focus on, Apple does not say we've got zero interest in customer experience.
No.
They say...
They leave you to work that out.
Yes, they do. But the thing that they are most focused on is their product experience. And then they go, we need to be a market meter on these other things that we do. So... you'd certainly say that price for Apple products is up there. They're certainly not trying to compete on price. They're not trying to win market share through having a lower cost offering.
No.
And people don't go to Apple because of their after sales service.
They do not.
Now, do they have after sales service? Yes, of course they do. Is it the best in the world? I suggest not.
It's probably as good as Samsung or any of the others, right?
Sure.
Because that's all they're going to do. It's just meet the market.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing, just to step back a bit about this piece, is this competitive focus is why someone would buy from you rather than your competitor. And I think it's even more important that we put it in the context of a prospect, because there's a different proposition piece that goes with existing customers to whom might be trying to upsell. This is for people who don't know you. So how do you differ from your competitor when it comes to people who haven't been customers of yours before? Mm-hmm. So, and Apple, obviously have an incredible brand strength and that sort of stuff. It's a much bigger challenge for smaller businesses, and therefore even more important to get clear about what they're famous for, because you have very limited attention span of people who haven't dealt with you before. So there's the product company, innovation, product lifecycle management. Those sorts of things are core competencies of those sorts of organisations.
Absolutely. And look, a really good example of the customer experience organisation is Amazon. And you might kind of think, oh, really? Online, predominantly, not a lot of people contact. How do you deliver customer experience without high people contact? It's absolutely doable if you think about if you've used the Kindle store for getting ebooks. What happens when you log in? When you log in, there's all those algorithms that sit in the background that goes, because you've read this, you might be interested in this and this and this. So rather than having to now sift through, I don't know how many products they have in that store, millions. Rather than trying to have to sift through millions, they're using their technology platform to actually deliver great customer experience, because you're like, yep, I've been profiled, I'm okay with that, I've liked this, I've liked that, you'll probably like this as my next
If
next
you
thing.
like this, then have a look at this. Or people like you, when they bought this, they bought that too. Oh, okay. So yeah, it is tapping into, so the customer experience piece, that customization is the kind of have it your way. And Amazon's an interesting example from a technology point of view. Lots of small to medium-sized businesses are by default in that customer experience piece. Lots of small businesses start by providing outstanding service to companies, to their customers. And that's a reason that a lot of, that we get to play with corporates, because corporates get to go, hey, I want it like this and that, and I want it in blue, and I want it yesterday. And we go, yeah, sure. We'll do anything to customize. It's a trap because it's very hard to scale. You need to have, for that customer experience piece, the core capability is high quality people who are able and authorized to make decisions for the customer at where they meet. So you've got people who've got discretion to make decisions about your margin with customers. I think of an example of an insurance company here in New Zealand that I heard about years ago. And look, other insurance companies, if medical assurance had the book, you didn't compete. They were more expensive. Their product was kind of, on a par with the others. But their customer service and their customization was just incredible. They wrapped their customers up with the products as they went through their life cycle, from kind of general insurance all the way through to mortgage finance, retirement, superannuation, the whole 9 yards. Hard to achieve, really hard to achieve, and a lot
wasn't there a good story about
well,
someone's boat?
There was a good story. I'll tell the story about the boat. The famous story was that I think it was a surgeon. So they focused very much on, they're a bit wider now, but the medical profession, which was quite a high level of overrepresentation in terms of income in that particular segment. This guy, his yacht had sunk, and the hull was insured with medical, and the contents were insured with GRE. I can say that now because they've long gone, as with many others. And the rep was down at the Evans Bay Marina or whatever in Wellington, kind of handing the guy the check for the hull. And he said, "Oh man, I wish it was so easy with the contents. These guys are being real idiots." And the medical rep said, "Oh, how much was it insured for? How much was it insured for?" And he said, "Oh, 25,000." And the rep had the checkbook. We're going back a long time. Right? Had the check back in the day and kind of wrote out a check and handed it to him for $25,000. No premium, wasn't a customer. They'd just paid out the hull. But I tell you what, you could not buy that kind of marketing for 25 grand. The impact that story, which I'm telling you now, kind of 30 years later, in the insurance industry, that story was famous among brokers. So, that's real intense focus on the customer. But that guy knew that that his boss had his back. He could do that, and he'd be a hero. Now that's pretty gutsy stuff, isn't it?
Gutsy and very customer experience focused.
Very customer experience
they weren't
focused.
Trying to be cheapest in market. They weren't saying they had a better policy wording than everyone else. They're just like, we will win on customer experience.
And it's expensive. It's expensive. So it kind of highlights one of the things about why you can only have one. So some people say, "Oh no, we're all of those. We're kind of competitive with the market. We've got a good product and we've got great service." You don't. You're missing something, because you can't be really high quality customer service and great product if you're a low cost operator, right? Because you can't afford it. You just can't afford it. The carrying costs of that high quality customer experience are going to destroy your positioning in an operational excellence low cost market. So get clear. And a lot of people go, "Oh, we don't want to be the lowest cost. We're more about the product, or we're more about the customer." And I say, "Well, are you more expensive than your competitors?" "Oh no." "Well, actually, then you really are playing in a low cost, and there's nothing wrong with it. So long as you can do so profitably, it's a great position. The biggest company in the world is a low cost operator. Walmart have 2 million employees, and they are a low cost operator. So it's there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. We get a bit hung up on it, but that's just our ego, I reckon.
Absolutely. And the clarity here is, what is your company going to be great at? So choose one to be great at. Look, you have to be a market matcher around the others. It doesn't mean if you chose product, doesn't mean you have to be the most expensive or the cheapest. You have to be somewhere in the market so that people kind of go, oh, I can see that I'm paying a premium, but I'm okay with that. Your customer experience has to be of value for that market.
Yeah.
Now, when organisations go, oh, we're just going to be great at everything, they end up being mediocre at everything. And an observation that I've had in the New Zealand grocery market is there is a Woolworths brand here called Countdown. They were previously two separate brands. They were called Big Fresh, which was very, very focused on lowest price, and they seemingly were focused in doing a reasonable job of that. They also had their Woolworths brand, which was a more premium experience. And they combined those two into the Countdown.
I think they had Countdown as well.
Oh,
and then they ran them all into
the single one. Now, I don't have any market data to say how well or not they're doing, but in my observation as a external consumer is they just now stand for nothing. So they're not the lowest price. There's even one of their competitors, Pack and Saves from the Foodstuffs group, just continually calls them out and advertising about not being the lowest cost. And then they're not able to deliver on the high customer experience like a couple of the other grocery brands in market, because they're trying to be all things to all people, and I really think they're missing the mark. And it's in my view, a good observation of what happens when you try to be all things to all people is you end up kind of being nothing to anyone.
Standing for nothing. Yeah.
Now, the grocery experts will tell me actually the biggest influencer is proximity to the consumer is the most important driver of where you shop, and secondary becomes the experience you're after. It's about distance to home, etc. Hey, look, all those things are valid, but I think the example of being really clear about what you are helps a lot with your focus to your prospects and to your market. It's really helpful for your team internally as well, because they understand what you're trying to be great at and what you only need to be a market matcher on. Yeah. So what would be a good starting point for someone if they're going, oh, well, I'm not quite sure what we are going to be famous for or great at? Where should they start?
Well, I think they should start with the segment of the customer segment they're after. Start there, because if you're after a mass market, then you're probably going to go down to the path of the operational excellence. If you are going higher end, then you're probably going to do product or customer experience. So it's as always, start with what is the customer's pain point and how do you satisfy that, and then and take a look at your competitors as well. Where if you don't start there, you can always go, well, is there an opportunity for a premium play? For a product specialist, and you take in the grocery space something like Farrow, or in Wellington it was More Wilson. They started that, and Janine Draper at Farrow will say, others tried to work it out. She nailed it in terms of the particular model, but it's very much at that kind of range, that product range end. It's not the cheapest. The customer service is nothing. It's neither here. It's as good as. That's it. But the range of product that's available, that's their play, and they've been very successful and continue to be successful. So, it's just thinking through where's the opportunity in the marketplace, given that the competitors seem to be all over here, all trying to compete on price. Is there an opportunity for a premium play in the right place? Yes, there is.
Absolutely. And ask your target segment. So the organisations or the people that you're trying to sell to that you see as your most valuable segment, go and ask them what they see as most valuable. If they're coming back saying lowest price, well, hey, if you're going to play in that segment, that's operational excellence is your play. If they're coming back saying customer experience, that's really the most important thing to us. Or it might be premium product. If you're trying to be a Ferrari or a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, it's product is going to be amazing. Does the customer experience that goes along with that have to be good? yes, but it's not your defining factor.
Meet the market in 2, beat the market in 1.
Absolutely. So look, we'll have available in the downloads from this podcast a worksheet literally with the competitive tripod on, so you can grab it and draw where you're at currently and aspirationally where you're trying to get to. So that would be a good place to start. We found it a really good conversation with your team, getting your team to kind of map out where they think they are, and then go and talk to your customers about it as well.
At some point in the future, another promise made, we'll talk about the voice of the customer. How do you get that deep customer connection? But that's for another time.
Great job. Hope that podcast around the customer tripod is useful. It's something that we use ourselves. We use it with our clients that we coach often. It's a really great element of clarity, I think, is the key. Rather than us going, hey, we're just going to be great at everything. Let's get really clear on what we are going to be great and famous for.
That mindfulness piece, being clear and then in a strategy following through on that insight and that kind of discipline.
If you know other business leaders who you think might find this useful, please send them the link to the podcast. We'd love to have them join our podcast audience. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.